Hello, St. John's. My name's Joetta Pro, and I have volunteered to facilitate a conversation with some of our board members about the upcoming implementation of a security system for St. John's. So we're going to begin by asking Matt to tell us a little bit about the history behind the board's decision to implement a security system for our congregation. Matt?
Thank you, Joetta. I think really to take a little bit of a bigger picture look at some of this, they really started a more specific emphasis on our congregants' physical health and safety. To my knowledge, at least dating back several years and probably going back farther. We obviously had the development of our Safe Congregations Committee, which really lended itself to ensuring that we were doing the necessary work of really taking care of some of our community's most vulnerable members in many different emotional and physical ways, right? However, while doing that work, it was identified that there really existed a need for a team to address many of the other more physical or tangible aspects associated with our congregants' health and safety as well. These topics included some items such as having robust discussions around capabilities of first aid operation and use of our AEDs, keying of the church, and other topics including active shooters, for example, in light of nationwide events. This ended up leading to the creation of the Security and Health Safety Team. The Security and Health Safety Team and the board were already having discussions surrounding building use and safety back in, I think, as far back as 2019. And around that time is when the church also then received a series of threatening letters. This kind of forced the topic of building safety to the front for that team and the board as well to both work on in conjunction. This was then further combined with several thefts from the building and knowledge that in prior years we had had issues with renters properly locking down the building and occasions of people gaining unwarranted access into the building. So that kind of gives a little bit of a historical view of where this is coming from.
Thanks. That kind of lays the groundwork for what we're talking about today. Then, so Lori, can you tell us why the board decided to use an electronic lock system and
Mm.
intrusion system to meet our responsibilities of keeping everyone and everything safe at St. John's?
Sure, absolutely. The first reason has to do with the physicality of the building, right? So it addresses the safety needs of St. John's in a way that honors the architecture and just the way that people are using the building. Our church is a little bit unique in that we have two really heavily used entrances. So if you asked someone what the main entrance is, you might get two different answers, right? The double doors up front and then the office door or back door. For the security of any building, it's really ideal just to have one non-emergency point of entry and exit, but in real life, that's a little hard to pull off. And we realize that if you're bringing something into the kitchen or coal fifer, coming in through the double doors may not make as much sense as coming in through the parking lot. So we wanted a system that would address those kinds of realities and not make things more complicated. Using a key fob system then allows us to continue using both of those doors the way that we all do now, and at the same time keeping everybody and everything as safe as possible.
Very interesting. Never thought about the complexity of the doors before. So I'm sure the board also took into account the long-term financial sustainability of a system that you would decide to use. So tell us about that, Lori.
Mhm. Um, I feel really good about where this landed. It's a cost-effective solution, but it also helped to offset costs that I can just speak for myself. I hadn't really thought about expenses that we were incurring already. So for example, if there's a concern about a lost key, we're facing a cost of over $900 to rekey the doors each and every time that happens. That can really add up. With key fobs, though, the control is centralized via computer, and individual fobs can be activated and deactivated remotely via computer as well. So it's saving us money in terms of the operation. It's helping avoid some of the costs that we might have if we went with a more physical, like key-based system. And as a bonus, this kind of system also saves us money on our property insurance. Essentially, I think it's a good general guiding principle that prevention is almost always less costly than an after-the-fact cure, if you're talking about the expenses to replace damaged or stolen property. And it's impossible to place a price on the safety of our people.
True, really true. Well, Kathy, tell us, how did the board get started on this? When did that first begin?
Well, in January of 2020, the leader of the St. John's Security and Health Safety Team and Safe Congregations Committee started exploring the best ways that we could secure the building. The goal was to secure the building and to keep our property, our people safe without having to use police or security or anything else. And then that's when it became clear that the reader with the fob would be the best fit for our circumstances, our values, and our budget.
Okay. Well, then the board had to decide on what particular company to use, right? So why did the board pick the company that you've decided to contract with?
Well, again, the security and health safety and safe congregations leader, we met with IPS and Guardian and called a couple of other people that couldn't accommodate our needs. And we received quotes and compared the software and the prices, and we presented to the board, and the board selected IPS as our security partner. And Integrated Protection Services, it's a private Ohio corporation founded in the fall of 1999. It's in Cincinnati, and they're located in Cincinnati proper.
Okay, great, thanks. Edie, would you tell us some about the funding for the implementation of the system and whether it impacts the operating budget? And you'll need to unmute yourself because we really do want to hear about the money.
Sorry. Yes, the system will cost $11,000, but we're not taking this out of the operating budget. This will come from the Miller Lorenz Property Fund, one of the endowment funds. And this fund is available to the board for permanent improvements or major repairs with the approval of the fund trustees. A project or item must be valued at a minimum of $4,000 and expected to last at least 10 years. And it's smart to use a more restrictive fund like the Miller Lorenz first, so more general all-purpose funds for less specific needs.
Okay, thank you. Nancy, let's get into some of the details. So how does this fob thing really work? Explain it to us, please.
Yeah, this is what you all are really interested in. Those of you who have keys will again receive not a key, but a fob. And a fob will be used, as mentioned previously, at the doors that have the reader. And those are going to be the very front door, the main door of the building, the back door, which is the office door, and one of the Crow Pfeiffer doors, the one that opens up into the parking lot. So you will be able to get in there as long as your fob is programmed for the hours that you're allowed into the building. And that's one of the advantages of this system, that a certain person can have just a certain time that they're allowed in and out of the building. And at the end of the evening, or at a certain time in the evening, no fobs will work, so that we can be sure that nobody is left in the building overnight. Our staff can come to work the next day and know that nobody's there, because we have a record of going in and out of the building. Now, renters specifically, if they come once a week, the leader of the group will have a fob that is programmed for just specific times that allows them to come and allows them all to go. And that may or may not be exactly how it works for our members who come frequently. That's yet to be decided, but it is. The joy of this is that it can all be specified. And as someone also mentioned earlier, if somebody loses a fob, all that has to be done is programming to make that defaulted or deactivated. Nancy Greenlee, our office administrator, is the one who's going to be in charge of organizing this whole system. She will receive training, that's part of what we're paying for, and she will then be able to design every individual fob according to a person's need. Have I left anything out?
Oh, I think that covers it for the basic overview of how the fobs are individualized to each user, and that's controlled via the computer, right? Great. So Edie, let's hit this one more time. Which
Sure.
doors will have the reader? Because people will need to know where to come and go. And tell us more about that front door in particular.
There will be, as Nancy told us, there will be 3 doors that will be equipped with the fob system. The double doors that enter into the foyer, and it will have a reader, but the push handicap access will still be available, and the inside will have a push bar to open the door for exit. But there will be a big difference from how it is currently set up. We will not have to go outside to lock or unlock the door, which is a safety in case there's any sort of person outside that we do not want to let into our building. And during the service, we can use the computer to predetermine a time that all doors will be locked. Now, the other 2 doors that will have the fob system is the back door, the office door, as well as the door to Crow Pfeiffer that enters off the parking lot, which means choir or the men's choir can enter through that door and not have to go through the rest of the church to get to choir rehearsal, whenever we finally get to where we can have choir rehearsal.
That will happen again. I know it will. Okay, well, Matt, I'm sure that the decision, as the board weighed this, included a consideration of how the use of an electronic system fits within our UU values. So I'm wondering if you could speak a bit to that.
Yeah, I know that was definitely a point of discussion at several of the board meetings that we discussed this at, as well as a question that we posed to the security and health safety team when they did their presentation to us. We think on a certain level, it's definitely crucial that we, tend to the actual business of owning and operating a building while also holding true to those values as well, right? And we do feel that this system aligns very well with that, right? We had some specific discussion about, are we really protecting people or are we protecting property, right? And those people include not just our own congregants, right, but staff and visitors to our church as well. We felt also, as several of the other board members have already mentioned, using this system made it easier to incorporate other safety practices throughout the church, rather than always requiring people to remember to perform them. We also don't want to entirely discount the protection of property within the church. While property can and should be replaced, right? We also understand that it should never be treated with the same regard as human life. At the same time, we think we have a reasonable obligation on the part of the board to help protect it. In many cases, our property furthers the church's mission, whether it's technology that we use for connecting individuals, such as to our partner church in St. Laszlo, artwork to signify the beauty of human life, or personal belongings even of members or visitors to the church. It also makes it really difficult for the board and pledge campaigns to request people to give generously to the church when we don't feel like we're working to protect those gifts. And thefts of personal belongings can certainly leave individuals feeling unsafe as well. We also did quite a bit of looking at what the UUA's stance on some of this was, and they definitely provide a large amount of information. They have an entire page of their website dedicated to building safety and security in congregations. In that, they cover a huge variety of topics, including active shooters, natural disaster, medical emergencies, and they provide a lot of sample policies and procedures. And then they link to a lot of other outside resources as well. Some of them are from insurance agencies on best practices for natural preparedness. Some of them are from centered around Jewish institutions for protecting them. There's a wide variety of information available on their website. And they also have information available on de-escalating situations without the use of police, right? And I don't want to ignore that either. But I think the fundamental takeaway from reviewing all their information that they had available was that they don't have a specific stance, right? They focus on educating their leadership and hoping that each congregation and each church can make the best decision with the facts and information they have available for what works for them.
Great. Thank you. That was quite informative. And I just want to thank all the St. Johners who spent 15 minutes learning about this improvement that our board has invested so much time and effort to make for us, for the people of St. John's, and for the property that supports us as a congregation, so that we have a safe and secure place to call our spiritual home and to support our community. So thank you so much for watching the video and spreading the word about this improvement. Bye-bye.